So today I am going to be doing this smoky eye look using the Urban Decay palette. I'll run through the colours. You're all familiar with them. I'm sure you've watched 100 of these before. I just really like this look for night time. Yeah, I just think it's really quite pretty, and it's nice and dark with a bit of shimmer and a bit of colour, so it just adds a bit of spark. So I've already curled my eyelashes and put my first coat of mascara on. I've also used my Revlon eye primer and brightener just so to keep my colours in place. First colour I'm going to be laying down is this NYX Jumbo pencil. This one is in Black Bean. So I'm just going to place this all over the mobile part of my lid. I like to use these when I'm doing a darker nighttime colour. Just keeps the colour really solid, and so I just basically spread it out really roughly and then smudge it out with my fingers. So trying to make sure that I get close to the lash line. And just making sure that it's quite even. Next thing I do to start off with is I actually go in with a Revlon Colour Stay, just an eyeliner. So I actually do my tight line and my wet line all in one. So I do this now because by the time I'm finished I generally find that I need to touch up again, and just by closing my eyes and gently rubbing it back and forth without actually touching my eye, I find I get a really good coverage with that. So the first colour I'm going to go in with this very soft brush is Sin, which is the second colour in the palette. It's just a pretty pinky, frosty sort of colour. So I'm just going to apply that to the corner of my eye and bring it up, following the shape under my eyebrow and onto my eyebrow bone, just to put a bit of highlight up there. As you can see, it's sort of quite a pinky, champagne-y sort of colour. It's quite pretty on my skin. And then, as I always do, I just drag a bit of that colour down into the underneath of my eye just to tie it all together. Next I'm going to go in with this very short little brush here, and the colour I am going to be using is Smog, which is this colour here. Hope you can see that okay. Now what I do is I pack it very heavily onto the brush, if you can see, because what I want to do is just really pack that colour on over that black NYX Jumbo pencil that I've laid down. And the reason that I like to put the Jumbo pencil down is it adds quite a bit of depth to the Smog, and the Jumbo pencil I find really helps with the decreasing of the creasing that I get on my oily lids, plus it just gives that really deep dark effect. So basically just all over the mobile part of the lid, just blending it very gently up to my crease. And as you can see, that black's basically disappeared, but you've got a really deep, interesting colour with that Smog. So once I've done that, I just go back in with the very tip of that small brush into Smog and basically just bring that colour down under my eyelid, or my lower lashes should I say, just to pull those colours together. The next thing that I'm going to do is get one of my pencil brushes, and I am going to go in with the colour beside Smog, which is Dark Horse. So I just pack a bit of colour onto the end of the pencil brush, and I very carefully just bring that colour about halfway along, just so that it will blend in with the colour that I'm going to do in the corner. I go back in with Dark Horse, and as per usual, you're better to not put enough on than too much. It's just far more easier to add more than it is to take it off. So all I'm trying to do is deepen that corner colour and just blend it up in through the creases, you can see, as I've done on the other side. So it's really quite simple and quite fast. The next thing I am going to do is I'm going to go in with this very flat, thin brush. It's quite stiff, and I'm just going to go in with Half Baked, and all I want to do is just lay some colour just on the brush, just like that, and I am just going to dab it right in the centre, basically if my eye was open, exactly where my eyeball would be. So this is going to go over a little bit of the dark horse and the smog, but it just highlights that centre part of your eye. If you feel you need a little more, just go back in. It just brightens that up with that pop of gold, so it just intensifies that colour in the centre of your eye. Then finally, my favourite brush, as you would all know, it's very, very fine. I love using it for when I'm using a dark colour, and in this case I'm going to be going in with Creep. Being that I'm doing a smoky dark sort of look, I do like the dark colour in the outside of my eye. So all I do with this is just very carefully and gently just go along my lash line at the bottom, and only about a third of the way in. And I just go back in and do the same thing on the top and just pull that colour up slightly. Then to add this little winged effect, I just basically ensure that I am running that line from under my eye to the outside edge and just pulling that colour in and bringing it up into the crease a little, just to intensify that dark horse just a little bit more, so that it's really quite a dark colour. Again, with my trusty wipes, as you would be aware, I just tidy up any fallout and tidy up that bottom line if it's got a bit long, and then just very gently pull a sharp line at the end. Then I lastly am going in with this fluffy brush. It's a little bit domed, but any type of fluffy blending brush. And I'm going in with Buck. I use this colour a lot, just above my crease. It is not a shimmer colour, but I like that it just adds a bit of highlight. So with my eye open, I just start blending from the outside and work my way in to that brow bone. At the same time, I'm blending and softening that dark line that I've done with the Buck and with the Creep. Sorry, I should say dark horse and Creep, shouldn't I? Would be better. So as you can see, that's now just all blended together really, really nicely. So I am just going to put my eyeliner on, and I just use the Wet n Wild, which I'm sure you're familiar with, the gel eyeliners, and I used a angled brush, which is very, very fine and very, very precise. Whenever I've used an eyeliner of any sort, particularly gel eyeliner, I just like to go back in with that same brush with a bit of Creep on it, just to settle that so that it doesn't go anywhere, and just ensure that there's no gaps, and just powder it down basically the same as you would with your concealer and foundation and such. And I bought a little bit of that black eyeliner down under my eye, so I will also just touch up there. So that's basically the eyes done, so I'll just finish the rest of my face and I'll be... So hi, here I am back again, finished look. This is my completed look anyway. I know it's looks a bit shiny because of the lights that I have but I always think it's better to be able to see than not to be able to see. Really catching it, so that just gives you a good idea of what the look is like. Just a bit of colour, so as you move it just catches the light, and that pop of gold in the middle just sort of brightens everything up a little bit. So this is my finished look. If you've got any questions or comments, please let me know. Please subscribe if you've enjoyed this video, and hopefully I will see you again soon. Bye.